Cleveland is bracing for a reckoning. The coach speaks in careful fragments about limited practices and responses to rehab, but the city hears something else entirely: stalling, hedging, and an unwillingness to face the moment. Kevin Stefanski can call it caution, can dress it in the language of incremental progress, but the story outside Berea has moved on. Shadur Sanders is back in town after treatment, back in the building, back on the grass, and the first glimpses of him in that leaked training clip detonated across timelines because the footage said what the press conference would not. The base was light on his feet, the follow-through clean, the wrists snapping with that familiar electricity. What followed felt like a familiar play in a tired script. The coach retreated to phrases about seeing how he responds, about taking it day by day, about the staff doing everything to set players up for success, about the offense as a whole needing to be better. It is the safest way to talk when the ground under you is crumbling, a rhetorical fog meant to spread accountability so thin that no one can pick it up. But the fog lifts the instant the lens catches Shedeur ripping throws in rhythm, because the simplest images hit hardest. If the back is truly the blockade, the thrower's posture would betray it. Instead, the posture sells belief. That is why the pushback grew louder after the clip. Why the choice to withhold first-team reps and the QB2 designation for the Jets week reads less like prudence and more like a barricade. The barricade has consequences. Every rep you deny him is a rep that belongs to the future being mortgaged for the present's vanity. The offense has skidded long enough to etch ruts into the season, and the answer offered to the city is the same promise to evaluate that has headlined too many Mondays. You can feel the huddle's patience thinning, not because players turn disloyal, but because locker rooms can smell momentum. They know when a ball jumps off a hand differently. They know when roots sharpen because the quarterback throws with anticipatory authority. They know when the room changes temperature. When the room changes and the depth chart refuses to, you do not merely risk losing games. You risk losing the belief that the process is honest. There is a second tension running in parallel, and it is cultural rather than tactical. Shedeur did not hide in recovery. He touched the city. He shook hands where the cameras are sparse. He worked with kids whose only proof that dreams are real is the day someone who made it looked them in the eye. That kind of presence does not always comport with a franchise's impulse to control the message, but it builds something far more durable: trust. The public sees the coach choosing opacity at the podium while the quarterback is visibly unafraid to exist beyond the facility's walls, and it creates a split-screen morality play. One side looks like power protecting itself. The other looks like responsibility undertaken without being asked. Against that backdrop, the insistence that this is still about health sounds smaller by the day. If the organization truly wanted clarity, it could stage it. Give him the week's meaningful reps. Put him in scripted periods with the ones. Let the ball and the tape do the talking. If he cannot move, cannot torque, cannot protect himself, that truth will surface in a controlled setting and the city will accept it. If he can do all of that, the truth will surface as well, and then the conversation can finally graduate from euphemism to decision. What rankles most is not even the decision to delay. It is the decision to delay while pretending the delay is neutral. Tommy Rees sits at the crux of all of it. The new play caller invited to put a college-born decisiveness into a pro playbook, to split the field and compress windows and force second-level defenders to declare their leverage before the snap. His vision begs for a trigger man who throws on time and with conviction, who is comfortable pushing the honey holes and layering shots between corner and safety, who will trust a concept's geometry and cut it loose. Dillon Gabriel has been handed the mandate without the label, the latitude without the results. He is competent enough to survive a script, but this offense does not need survival. It needs someone who converts the 3rd and 7 that is flattened this season in 100 small ways. Rees can craft the call sheet that chases explosives and dictates matchups. But a call sheet has to be animated by a quarterback who sees and strikes, not one who waits and hopes. That is why the presence of that single practice clip matters. It is not proof of fitness, but it is evidence of readiness, and readiness is the currency this roster has been starved of. Receivers run different when they believe the ball will track through space the moment they clear the hip. Pass protection feels different when they trust that the pocket is a launch pad rather than a holding cell. Even the defense feeds on it, because nothing wins over a veteran unit like an offense that acknowledges their labor by staying on the field. Myles Garrett does not need speeches. He needs leads. The most efficient way to give him one is to allow your most dangerous thrower to practice like he will be asked to deliver it on Sunday. It would be easier to swallow if the messaging were honest. Say plainly that you fear turnovers with a rookie. Say plainly that you are protecting him from an offensive line that has degraded. Say plainly that you misjudged the timeline and need one more week. The city can handle candor. What it cannot abide much longer is the soft denial of what its own eyes are telling it. If you continue to insist that improvement is a communal cloud while the most obvious lightning rod stands under it untouched, the storm will find you anyway. And when it does not politely schedule its strike after the bye. There is still a way to salvage something that extends beyond standings. If the coach truly believes in process, then submit to the result of an honest one. Put Shedeur through a real week, not a ceremonial one. Install on Wednesday with him at the center. Stress the protections on Thursday and see how his base holds up under simulated pressure. Close Friday with red zone and 2-minute, the crucibles that reveal a quarterback's breath control when the walls shrink and the clock screams. If the back balks, you have your answer, and the city has compassion. If it does not, then the answer you have been dodging has been waiting for you all along. Right now, the Browns feel like a show that keeps teetering at the commercial break. The music swelling, the reveal withheld. That works on television because suspension sells ads. In a locker room, it sells nothing. Men who put their names on film need resolution. The coach can continue to choose the limbo of limited today, or he can choose the credibility that comes with declaring a direction and owning it. The first path ends in the slow bleed of apathy. The second path risks headlines but earns eyes. One of them gives your season a pulse.